going to introduce our guest demonstrator speaker today, Dwight Pritchett. I guess you started out in Wilkinsburg, PA, and you ended up back here in Pittsburgh, and you're going to show us, is it portage?
Portage.
All right, I got one right. I'm not going to hold it up. I'll let you do all the talking here. So welcome, and thank you for coming to speak with us today.
Well, I'd like to thank the Westfield Organization for inviting me. It's great to get to talk about something I really enjoy. And I've had a lot of fun with this project, and I had no idea I would get into it. You know, it's really just something, just serendipity. Boom, you know, here I am. But so yeah, like I said, I started out in Wilkinsburg. I lived in Franklin, PA for 2 years, and then ended up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and finished my high school in Fort Lauderdale, which was fun. But I liked it up north. I was a northern boy, and I missed the fall one, missed the springs and the winter. But so ended up at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for 2 years. Got my associate's degree. And fortunately, I just kind of rolled right into a studio, working with George Roth Scope Studio, and I was an airbrush artist. That's something I'm kind of geeky at that end, where I could monkey with an airbrush and keep it going, so it kind of worked for me hand in hand, and I loved the what you could achieve with it, with the airbrush. And so worked at Scope Studio for about 2 years, and then I went with another gentleman, Barry DeBone, for another 2 years. But the whole time I always knew I wanted to hang my own hat and have my own studio. So from there I opened Pritchett Studio, Dwight Pritchett Studio, and myself and my wife Bonnie, hand in hand, we turned it into an award-winning little studio. It was just like a room about this big, but from that room we produced many things that you've seen, but you wouldn't know it in advertising, billboards, ads in magazines. We worked on. We produced the artwork for it. So I've had lots of experience, with photographers, art directors, designers, and illustrators. And so in doing that, I got a lot of exposure to different lighting, colors, and what. So it really helped me along as far as my own personal artwork. But I don't know if you realize, in the commercial art field, you get very little time to do your own thing. It's always art by committee. So you do a piece of art, you submit it, and it has to go through who knows how many hands, and then you wait for that phone call. Oh, you got to change this, or you got to do that, or you got to make this different. So I learned through that experience to leave something. I would leave just some little thing that was obvious, that somebody could go, oh, you need to change this or fix this. So, okay. And I may have already had it done, But anyway, airbrush, paintbrush, that's all we did. And then the computer came over. And that was something else. That was, you could see the writing on the wall that the airbrush and the paintbrush they were going to be laid down, and you had to get into the computer art. And so, fortunately, in the graphic arts, everybody was caught in that same situation. So we were able to bounce off of each other as far as, how do you do this? What's this mean? Or call, at 12 o'clock at night, you knew somebody else would be up, and call them and say, hey, if there's something on the monitor that says warning or whatever, what do I do? So it once you got past the technical end, it was infinite. It was like it eliminated. Before that, I would always have to go through print houses, I'd have to go through print makers, photographers, and what. to achieve my end piece of artwork that I wanted to produce. And the computer just kind of gave me free hand. And I was able to, what we were able to conceive, we were able to achieve on the computer, which was amazing at the time. But the problem was they were so limited as far as space. I had to work on photos. I had to break them into 4 sections just to work on them because of the speed of the computer. You'd hit something and it would just take you to watch that little. But anyway, it was great. It was a great experience. I retired and left all that behind. So now I'm able to hands-on do artwork, which is what I love, more so. So in working, we had our studio in downtown Pittsburgh. I would commute back and forth by bicycle. I was from Westview, and it was about a 6-mile pedal. It was all downhill going in the morning, and then coming home, I got my workout, so I was done for the day, So I would be flying down the street, not very fast, Bonnie, and there would be a manhole. And, either I'd have to go over it or around it, depending on how deep or how, what it was like. And then all of a sudden I started to pay attention to them, And, maybe I'm at a red light or a stop sign or something, and I look down. There's one that I noticed. It was a Pittsburgh without the H. So that spiked my, interest. I'm like, oh, Pittsburgh without the H, that's unique, So here, back 1900, Pittsburgh didn't have an H for about 10 years. So here that particular manhole, and I believe this is one here also that I found. This is the ring is a direct lift. And it was the Pittsburgh without the H. And I found 3 like this, from that time period, which was really cool. So that sparked my interest, I'm like, okay, so I would be at eating lunch or having a coffee or whatever, and I'd be thinking about this, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a rubbing. So like you do like a tombstone rubbing or, like on white paper, so I bought a roll of white paper and cut off a piece big enough to fit over the manhole and, and taped it down with my duct tape and first I had to.
That was in our bedroom.
First I had to whisk it off. Oh, I love my broom. Yeah, a handy whisk broom. I had to dust off any rocks or anything large that would interfere with the lift. So there I would be, my white piece of paper, and I bought the block carbon. I think you've all seen them, and I would just kind of scribble and do the lift. And it was cool, but then I learned that I had to go in a direction to do that, to get it to look like something. So I would pull into the center with it, but it still left me it just wasn't working, So I thought about it, and what was happening was when I did that, I wasn't getting the negative spaces that I needed. So then it dawned on me, why don't I start with a black? And since all manholes have holes in, and then that takes care of that. And I could work the other way. I could work the opposite way to the light areas, which was a revelation. So I had to find a canvas that I could use. So I ended up at Joanne Fabrics buying black duck cloth. It's a heavy canvas that is heavy enough to be durable enough to stretch and but it's also light enough, thin enough that I could lay it over a texture and do my lift. So So I did my first one.
You did it right on the canvas instead
Yes.
of on paper.
Yeah, I'll show you these. So I did my first one in Market Square. Bonnie was in Starbucks or something. And I'm over there, and I got my canvas over the manhole cover. And I used Conti crayons, you know, because I needed something stiff that I could draw across. It was similar to the graphite, you know, so that worked. And I have two examples here to show you with the Conti crayons and pastels. The problem with that is that they were not durable. You know, I would roll it up and then I would unroll it, and there was parts on the back of the other one I rolled it on and smudged real easy. And it also turned into like a street art. You know, I would be doing this and I'd look up and there'd be people standing around, what the heck are you doing, you know? And, you know, so I'd be talking to them, and then I'd have some right on the spot, they wanted to buy it, right there, you know, can you sell that to me, you know? But with the pastels and the Conti crayons, I couldn't, because they weren't, I'd have to spray it before I could hand it off to them. So I switched to oil pastels. It just made sense, you know, but what I don't like about the oil pastels is it's a softer crayon to work with. So, but I learned how to work with it. And it was nice because once I can when I'm on location, I can actually take it to finish. You know, if somebody were to want it, I can sign it, hand it off. So, let me show you some examples. Oh, that was the other thing too, the duck cloth. I was still thinking white. So I got the canvas color, and this is one with the pastels, the Conti crayons and pastels. This particular cover, this would have been a coal chute. You know, in front, this is on the north side. I don't know if you know, what's it called? Yun's Coffee is on the corner now, just a block down from Allegheny General Hospital, Federal Street, and anyway, it sat on actual stone, the stone sidewalk, you know. So I didn't think that much about it, other than the fact that it had said something on it, which is what I would always look for, because I like that part about it, the history part about it. So, you know, this particular one, it had a date on it, which was really cool. So, you know, it says patented November 18th, 45. So I'm thinking 1945. So I'm working on it, and this gentleman comes over and he's here, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing these lifts, you know, manhole cover. He said, what are you, crazy? You know, I said, well, you know, and then I started explaining it to him. You know, I said, well, you look at this, you know, it's an old manhole cover, and it's interesting, you know, what. So by the time we were done, he was saying, you're going to be a millionaire someday. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm
Still
working.
waiting.
So I said to him, well, this is like 1945. I said, this is a fine. He said, no. He said, you probably should think like 1845. So I looked it up. Sure enough, 1845. Think about that. This saw the Civil War.
Jeez.
You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Buggies, carriages.
Yeah.
It's incredible, you know, that was still there. Well, they decided to clean up and they took it away. And why? They just put a blank one on there. I don't know why, but it's gone. And that's the problem I have is they take them up as fast as I can find them. But anyway, this is on the light color, white cloth.
Did you
Is the rest of it a design, or did you rub all of that too?
That, I'll get to that. This is another one. Fortunately, I got these. I didn't even realize I had them until the other day when I was looking at these old canvases. Again, this is a pastel. Yeah, pastel on black. So this started to achieve what I was looking for. You know, all of a sudden, you know, I had my black, I had my negative spaces, and I could work it the opposite way, and it turned into a gateway for me to push this further. And but anyway, a side thing, this brown. This is kind of Ewan Brown, I think was his name. Here he, in Chicago, here he headed the Illinois Humane Society, to be humane to the horses and you know, the animals back then. And which was really interesting.
Now, did you use obviously more than one color on that? It almost looks like a color wheel on the pastel, on the inside of the.
Yeah, I do that deliberately. I take it, that's where I'll add the artistic license.
Okay.
You know, I could just duplicate it in the browns and what it actually looks, but I don't like it, you know, take a picture.
I like it. Yeah.
So I started to just use artistic license and just do my thing. And usually, you know, it's like wherever the area is I'm working kind of inspires me to what I choose, the colors I'll choose. And this was, you know, this particular corner, there's a lot going on and I just decided to do that. And I always try to work, you know, I'll pick a light source and I'll stick with it. And then I always try to work warm to cool, which you can do, which is obvious on this. You know, I try to work like the warm. Yeah, this would have been my light source coming in from this way. So, you know, I went warm to cool to give it that dimension. And then I always try to make all four corners different, like a little bit different in each corner. So it's more like eye candy, you know, it's just changes it. Once I do the rubbing, then I have to do the background. Some backgrounds on these things are just boring. It's just, you know, just black top or it's concrete. There's no interest. So I may look around for something interesting and then do a lift with that texture. Cobblestones, bricks, you know, but it's just endless, you know, the different in the city, just the different textures you can come across. This particular one, again, had stone around it, which was amazing to me, which doing a lift on is interesting in itself, you know, what you can get out of it. So that was a good one. Used to be a good one. But I can still get the stone. The stone's still there. I can still get that texture.
Now, do you spray that with fixative regular
I
fixative?
would rework these with oil.
Okay.
Yeah. I would redo them. I just wish I had it to take it down and key it up and you know, go over it with the oil. But yeah. So that's what got me there. The different the things where the foutage thing comes in is I didn't know by that point, you know, I was already 2 years into it, 3 years into it. I didn't know it was an art form. You know, all I thought it was just a tombstone rubbing. So a professor from Texas called me and said he's taken students to Italy and wants to know, you know, if it's safe to let them do rubbings, and he kept referring to it as frottage. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there it is. It's actually a thing. Who knew? And I looked up. It was Max Ernst back in 1925. It was an artist that actually started working with that, and he got started with floorboards. I guess back then when they would scrub, the grain would become dominant in the floorboards, and he would lay, like I did, paper on, and he would do the rubbing, and then he would turn that into a piece of artwork. Then he started another process. He called it grattage, Grattage, which was a scrubbing. He would take a canvas, and just like you do gesso, he would do gesso and then do a background color. Then he would add other colors of a layer of paint. Then he would lay it over the grain, and he would scratch it off the different layers to get to what he was trying to achieve. And he used wood grain, and he used fish bones, which was interesting. So that was pretty cool. Here it was. So then I should look up, since I had the computer then. I Googled, who else was doing this. The only other person doing this was a guy in California that was doing manhole cover rubbings, but his were more graphic. His were a little more, not even along this line. This is actually two interesting. Where the frottage thing comes in is I didn't know by that point. I was already 2 years into it, 3 years into it. I didn't know it was an art form. All I thought it was just a tombstone rubbing. So a professor from Texas called me and said he's taken students to Italy and wants to know, if it's safe to let them do rubbings. And he kept referring to it as frottage. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there it is. It's actually a thing. Who knew? And I looked up. It was Max Ernst back in 1925. It was an artist that actually started working with that, and he got started with floorboards. I guess back then when they would scrub, the grain would become dominant in the floorboards, and he would lay, like I did, paper on, and he would do the rubbing, and then he would turn that into a piece of artwork. Then he started another process. He called it grattage, Grattage, which was a scrubbing. He would take a canvas, and just like you do gesso, he would do gesso and then do a background color. Then he would add other colors of a layer of paint. Then he would lay it over the grain, and he would scratch it off the different layers to get to what he was trying to achieve. And he used wood grain, and he used fish bones, which was interesting. So that was pretty cool. Here it was. So then I should look up, since I had the computer then. I Googled, who else was doing this. The only other person doing this was a guy in California that was doing manhole cover rubbings, but his were more graphic. His were a little more, not even along this line. This is actually too intricate, but his were more just taking the spaces and making them solid color, like a poster art, kind of effect. But I was doing something different, so I felt like I'm not infringing on anybody. But anyway, that the frottage aspect of this was what I really enjoyed was running around trying to find different textures, and then the history. This one I've done recently. This is an oil. This is as far as I take it on the street. You know, I could stay longer, but this is about as far as I take it, you know, and I lay my blank canvas, and I straddle the manhole cover with it, and, you know, and on this one, unfortunately, which bugs the heck out of me, I didn't get it centered, but I can live with that. I can even frame it, you know, I can stretch it so it looks all right, but you can see on here, I did the same thing. I picked a light source, and then I worked warm to cool. The purple's more, you know, the cooler on the bottom, and all the highlights on the upside of that.
Where's
So-
that one located?
I'm sorry?
Where's that one located?
This one is still there. Don't tell anybody. It's on 3rd Avenue
Oh,
and up near Smithfield Street.
oh,
And it's just like, I'm gonna say, just a door down from Smithfield in an obscure place, but it's in the middle of the sidewalk. And they actually redid the sidewalk, and they left the manhole cover, which is amazing. In this case, this would have been a vent light, actually. Because in town, where they would store the coal or, you know, whatever, and that they would want ventilation. So this one actually has, you know, has the holes in what for ventilation. It had kind of that pebbly kind of concrete. It wasn't a smooth concrete around it, so I thought I would, okay, you know, I'll go with that, you know, something different. But I'm not happy with it. I'll probably stress it, you know, I'll probably put cracks, and I'll take artistic license and put some cracks in what. Then I found it's always good, I always like to add a touch of organic to it, something, because there is, when I'm doing them, there's weeds and grass and what, so it gives it another dimension, you know, it gives you something, I don't know, the harmony of it helps to bring it together. And then this had a cracked concrete in the middle that I was able to capture and play with. This is a sidewalk in our neighborhood in front of a house. You know, whoever put the sidewalk in did this zigzag pattern in it. You know, I don't know why, but I lifted it. You know, it's perfect. I grabbed it and
How long did something like that take you? Like you work outside and then you take it in the studio?
usually takes me about an hour to do the original lift, and then probably about another two to 3 hours to take it to completion, which brings up another subject. You know, since I have a business going and I'm commuting, I only had so much time to do these, you know, and so the speed is what I really liked. You know, I was able to produce something and it worked out perfect. So,
oh, Lord.
so enough with that. Any questions so far at this point?
Not to there, no.
I just want to ask you, have you ever thought of contacting the Heinz History Center? Because of the history behind this, have you thought of like trying to contact them, see if you could do a show there or so?
I did.
Okay.
I've been, several people have said you should contact the History
Yeah.
Center and that, which would involve me in looking all these up. Oh, this one was a foundry in downtown Pittsburgh. I don't know if you know where the old post office is, up by where the USX Tower. And then you got the federal building.
Right.
And then I think in part of the federal building is the old post office. This foundry used to sit right there, that this was made in. And the other thing that was unusual about this one was It was the only one I found that it wasn't like a Helvetica type or, anything. It was actually, it was interesting, so it was a fun one to do. And it was made actually in downtown Pittsburgh, so who knew? But I've sold one of these already. And that's the other thing, is I can duplicate them, If it's still there, I can go and duplicate it. If somebody buys it, I can duplicate it, and then I just try to use either another color scheme or just change it up. But that's what's fun about this.
So how do you get this out there? Is it just like on your website? Like how do people find you, or, in order to purchase? How do you show it?
While I was doing this, a Starbucks moved into Market Square. So, of we're over there and got to know the manager. And I said to her one day, I said, "You need some of my artwork in here." And she says, "Let me see what I can do." So she contacts Seattle headquarters. They sent me a contract.
Oh.
And they gave me a wall, right as you came in the door, I had a wall. And I would hang these, I could hang them on that wall. And I made a little card holder that would hang a little wire basket, and I would have it full of cards, different cards, and I'd have the cards were different, they all represented the different ones I would do. I think I have some of those little cards here. But I sold like 5, 6 off that wall.
So
Which was
Starbucks
for,
customers come in and they're like, "Hey, that speaks to
well,
me."
it was right where they lined up to go to the register. So
Gotta capture line.
I had these cards. You can pass them around if you want to look at it. But I had these cards, the information on there is incorrect anymore, so but they're just old. And I would have on the back, I'd have a history of the manhole, like what I could find out about it. And it was a cool thing.
It's great, because it's like local, very
Collected the
Pittsburgh, very
little cards.
historical, and beautiful.
Yeah, this one woman has bought 4 of them. That's what she loves about it. She has them in her entranceway of the house.
Oh, wow.
And that's what she likes about them. Each one has a story.
Right.
And then I learned, I tried to attach it to what it was near. If I was over, there's one big one I've done, I have an example of it. It's on the sister bridges. In Pittsburgh, we have the 3 bridges that are identical. They're called the sister bridges. And it's on the Rachel Carson Bridge. So I was able to incorporate that in the story. So it gives it some interest and gives it a location. So should get on with the demonstration. But this is a fun one. I gotta finish it yet, but this is a fun one. But it's still there, which is amazing.
Have you contacted the Pittsburgh Public Works and say, "Hey, when you pull those out, they're probably melting them down, because you have to brass."
Exactly.
But
I have a feeling though, since those, that oldest one I was showing you from 1845, I have a feeling somebody put that together that has historical value and got it. Because it has the same location, it has just a plate over it, there's nothing under it. It's just a plate, so somebody lifted that one. So, I was trying, since I couldn't bring a manhole in, I even walked around outside and looked around. I could use, but anyway, I was down in the basement and I found this. A miniature manhole.
Yeah.
No, I had bought this at Home Depot because our son-in-law, when they're here, he's Italian, and he likes to make his espresso. And our new stove, the burner grates are too big that he can't put his pot on. So I bought this so he could could put his paw on it, you know, so. But anyway, it worked perfect for a demonstration. I brought in all kinds of different textures. I think I want to try to use this one. I found this one. I'm always looking for roadkill. This was a cool one. But we're always picking up like old pieces, you know, that you'll find that are all dented. And, then I did a practice run. I got a little bit carried away, flowery, but I wouldn't normally do this. This is not the way I go with them. But I thought it was just something fun. And I used for the petals, I just made a piece of wire that I could use, that I could lay under, you know, to define the petals. The background, which is cool. This is our old countertop with the tiles off. But I couldn't throw it away. You know? Like, I like that texture, you know, I know I can do something with that. So I'm going to use that on the demonstration. And my duck cloth. Bonnie decided when doing these, some are in a kind of a not safe situation on the street. What I do in Bellevue, it's 1893, and it's in the middle of the street. And so I have to have a look, you know, so while I'm working. But anyway, that's where this came from.
Oh, that's
Oh.
So that, you know, nobody would run over me.
Oh my God.
So I line it up, and I usually, you know, I'll just feel where the center is. Like, you know, through the cloth, I can feel it. So I'll line it up where I want it. And I duct tape it down. First, I brush it off, any debris or anything and so on. But, so what's cool is that I found you can apply this to a lot of art forms. You know, it's not just what I do. You know, you can use these textures in doing a painting or some groundwork to achieve something different. It's infinite. Textures are just infinite that you can lift. And it's the speed that I like, that you can lift that texture and you're done. You know, you don't have to sit there and draw every little square and every little line, you know, so I cheat.
It'd be cool if you had a tire track go across it at the same time.
So I tape it down, unfortunately. I'll show you why I tape it, because if I leave it loose, some I have to leave loose, but I don't like to. So I have my colors. These are all acquired with coupons to Joanne Fabrics, 40%, 50% off. You know, so that's where I get all my power here. So I usually start with the ground color, the brown. Usually they're rusty looking, or you know, they are metallic looking. So you know, I will start with a brown that kind of mimics that. That gives me the base color. Then I can start building off of that. Let's take this one for now. So I'll usually just use a piece. And again, I pick my light source. And let me see if I can do this upside down. I'll pick my light source up here. Then I found drawing in one direction you can draw, you can pull back and forth, and even the other direction, you can build it and utilize the texture that's underneath it. It'll pick up color on either side. So I can get a light and dark side to it, or a light and like a color, like a deep blue or something on the other side, like a shadow side. So that was very important. I learned that because before I would just scrub it, you know, and it would just be a mess. So I pull from my light source. By this point, you know, I have somebody standing there going, "What the heck are you doing?" So I'm going to speed this up, of course. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Boom.
Oh.
But that's what I'll end up with.
Yeah.
You know, I'll end up with my initial lift, you know, and then from here, I'll start adding the color, whatever direction I want it to go, into the blues or what. Halloween coming up, I'm gonna go into the oranges, just for fun. So it's gonna be more pumpkin than I messed up my.
You might have just discovered something new.
Like do
You could move
superimpose.
it around, right?
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
like one of Jim's photos,
Yeah. Non-digital or.
non-digital.
Yeah.
Hear that, Jim?
That's close. Okay. So I'll pick an orange. Go for more pumpkin-y kind of orange. And then, you know, for my light source, I start stroking from that direction. Huh.
Why do you break off a piece instead of using the whole
The
stick?
big pieces don't get down into the detail, you know, where there's maybe a lip or an edge. The big pieces, you know, they'll kind of cross over that, and so I like the little ones because I can noodle them down into the nuances of the manhole cover.
Have you ever done any manholes outside of Pittsburgh?
I'm sorry,
Have
outside?
you, yeah, have you gone, well, I saw one in Indiana, but I don't know if that was in Indiana or made in Indiana.
No, they're made in Indiana.
Okay,
They
you
all-
have gone to
they-
like New York City and,
They contacted me.
ooh,
I had a show up there.
oh, how neat.
Yeah, because I had about 3 pieces from Indiana, and so you know they contacted me, and at the museum up there they had, and there's still one showed up at the museum, I guess. You know, they kept
Oh, that's
on
neat.
display. So,
Yeah.
but that was fun. But yeah, they were standing out there, and they said, yeah, it used to be right there, you know, the mill, you know, right from the museum. So they were all excited. But this is cool, this little plate, because it was made in India.
India?
India.
Oh.
So it does have some type on it. So I'll pull my orange to get it started. Then I'll work the other direction with my cool colors. You know, my blues and purples and let me see, we're doing Halloween, so. So I'm gonna go with a color that's more into the navy blue. There we go. More into the navy blue range and pull it the other direction. I think of it like moonlight or evening reflection coming into it. And so I'll pull that in. You're welcome to come up and stand around. You don't have to sit there. But it starts to, excuse my hand, it starts to take on a dimension.
Yeah.
You know, so then, then I can go further. Once I get my colors on, I want it more pumpkin-y. Oh my God. So, what's happening, since this is so small, my negative area, my black areas are filling in. So I have to go back in and define them. But I'm not gonna do them all, but I'll show you.
Now, are those the oil pastels?
I'm sorry?
Are those oil pastels?
Yeah, these are the oil pastels.
And those at the end you don't have to spray,
I should fix them,
but you don't.
but I don't. I hate spraying that stuff.
Mm.
You know, I really do. But it's something that nags at me. I have, you know, I've sprayed the pastel ones for sure.
Now, would you ever frame it and put it behind glass?
No,
Oh, no.
I don't know, you know, people that have bought them, I don't know if they've
Oh.
put them behind glass. I would advise it. When I started out, I never saw this as like a final finished piece like you guys, if you do an oil or something like that. I saw it as street art, you know, it's like I always think of when we were at the beach one year and I was making a sand thing out with the kids. It was, but anyway, we spent hours making this sculpture or this thing on the beach, you know. So we went back to the blanket and sat down, you know, and we're looking at it, admiring it, and this little kid comes over and just. So I learned a lesson. You know, I learned, you know, I don't become attached. You know, I enjoy doing them. You know, so where it goes from there, you know, once it's done. So I'll fill in, I'm just gonna show you real quick, I'll hold this up, then I'll add highlights. But you'll get an idea, like so to build dimension.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
really come together.
Oh, wow.
That made a big difference.
And this is all right on location, you know, I can do this, which is cool. So, once I get to this point, you know, then I start, do I like the background that's behind it, or do I want something else going on back there? I've had some where I would sketch something on there, a texture. You know, I would just, there's one I really like, you know, I would just pull the crayon sideways, crisscross, like a crosshatch. It turned out perfect. It turned out really cool, but it's not a real texture somewhere, you know, it's just
That's
on
neat.
display, so.
Yeah.
But that was fun, but yeah, they were standing out there and they said, yeah, it used to be right there, you know, the mill, you know, right from the museum. So they were all excited. But this is cool, this little plate, because it was made in India.
India?
India. So it does have some type on it. So I'll pull my orange to get it started. Then I'll work the other direction with my cool colors, you know, my blues and purples and let me see, we're doing Halloween, so. So I'm gonna go with a color that's more into the navy blue. There we go. More into the navy blue range and pull it the other direction. I think of it like moonlight or evening reflection coming into it. And so I'll pull that in. You're welcome to come up and stand around. You don't have to sit there. But it starts to, excuse my hand, it starts to take on a dimension.
Yeah.
You know, so then, then I can go further. Once I get my colors on, I want it more pumpkin-y. Oh, how about that? So, what's happening, since this is so small, my negative area, my black areas are filling in. So I have to go back in and define them. But I'm not gonna do them all, but I'll show you.
Now, are those the oil pastels?
I'm sorry?
Are those oil pastels?
Yeah, these are the oil pastels.
And those at the end you don't have to spray,
I should fix them,
but you don't.
but I don't. I hate spraying that stuff.
Mm.
You know, I really do. But it's something that nags at me. I have, you know, I've sprayed the pastel ones for sure.
Now, would you ever frame it and put it behind glass?
No,
Oh, no.
I don't know, you know, people that have bought them, I don't know if they've
Oh.
put them behind glass. I would advise it. I never, when I started out, I never saw this as like a final finished piece like you guys, if you do an oil or something like that. I saw it as street art, you know, it's like I always think of when we were at the beach one year and I was making a sand thing out with the kids. It was, but anyway, we spent hours making this sculpture or this thing on the beach, you know. So we went back to the blanket and sat down, you know, and we're looking at it, admiring it, and this little kid comes over and just. So I learned a lesson. You know, I learned, you know, I don't become attached, you know, I enjoy doing them, you know, so where it goes from there, you know, once it's done. So I'll fill in, I'm just gonna show you real quick, I'll hold this up, then I'll add highlights. You'll get an idea, like sort of build dimension.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
really coming together.
Oh, wow.
That made a big difference.
And this is all right on location, you know, I can do this, which is cool. So, once I get to this point, you know, then I start do I like the background that's behind it, or do I want something else going on back there? I've had some where I just would just sketch something on there, a texture. You know, I would just, there's one I really like, you know, I would just pull the crayon sideways, crisscross, like a crosshatch. It turned out perfect. It turned out really cool, but it's not a real texture somewhere, you know, it's just my imagination. So that's why I brought this board in. Because I'm just going to throw it behind it. Yeah, so then I'll look at it and I like these sections, and there's a few holes, which is cool. I'll tape it on there. But if you can imagine, if this was out, if I was on the street, this would be a sidewalk or, you know, some kind of a wall. I've taken them off of walls. But some texture that I like. Bricks are fun. Cobblestones are a lot of fun. And then different concrete, some you'll find them brushed, you know, and that works out great.
You say, do you sign them? Yeah, I see down in the bottom corner. Okay.
Okay, so then I will keep this in our, I want moonlight. Just to make it quick, I'm just gonna.
It looks so satisfying. I do that.
I'm getting lost. I'll be
Yeah.
looking down at the street.
Have you done this like technique with other things, like say gravestones or?
Yeah, and you could, you know, you could use this there, you could do that on the board. But I want this to feel like a moonlight, you know, I'm going with the Halloween theme, so kind of a moonlight, kind of a feel to it.
Anybody ever asked you to do it?
Oh, is that neat? That's really nice.
Cool, huh?
Yes,
That's beautiful.
it is.
So, I'll keep building that. You know, I'll add, you know, maybe more purple on the bottom side, because I try to keep all four sides different. So it's not just a mono kind of a feel.
I was saying about somebody says, oh, there's one by my house, will you come and do it?
I have a woman in Washington DC that's waiting for me to do one.
Really?
You know, I just haven't been down there. She said, whenever you do it, let me know. She has she had a grandson going to college down there, and he just loved it down there and loved it. And she saw my work, and she thought that would be a great gift for him to take home. Here, this is real quick. This is great.
Very unique.
Okay. So then I'm gonna speed it up with some lighter color. Lighter blue.
Do you find the manhole covers are very distinctive and unique, or are there ones that you see over and over again?
Sorry.
Like when you, like manhole covers, are they like do you see the same ones all over, like one
Yes.
street
You do.
and, you know?
Yeah, the Bell telephone, that honeycomb.
Mm.
I try to stay away from the new ones. I feel like, you know, there's a infringement there. You know, I feel like it's really, you know, I didn't come up with that design.
Mm.
These old ones, they're 100 and some years old, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty safe, and I don't feel like I'm stepping on anybody's toes, you know, or what. Something I should mention to you is, this is big. You wouldn't think so. Worldwide, it's actually a big thing, manhole covers. Japan, they're obsessed with it. Honestly, you can go to a store in Japan and buy duplicates, like plastic duplicates of the manhole covers, and people have them, you know, have them displayed in their house. They sell cards, like baseball cards. A lot of people they'll go to that actual manhole and they'll hold their card, you know. You know, it's just crazy, but I'm
And they're
a member
beautiful
of
too,
the,
they're very ornate and original.
Oh, nice.
I'm a
Oh,
member.
no.
You go
Not
to
a member.
California to that, what is that? That Chinese theater, you know, the footprint.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Japan, they make them, depicting like the village. If it's a fishing village, it has a fishing scene on it.
Oh, neat.
Depending on, you know, where it is, if it's a farming area, you know, it's more of a farm kind of scene. And it's just amazing. I had a woman in Starbucks telling me that I need to go to Japan.
And do manhole
It
covers.
sounds like if I went to Japan, I need a lot of canvas and a lot of.
Yeah.
But, so it's fun. Germany is another place where they took their manhole covers serious. There's cool ones, you know, castles and cool ones. But anyway, I don't want to stress on it. You know, I'll start adding to it and take it
Those are good colors.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, that is.
take it in a direction. I want to take this further in showing you the frottage approach. So I want to throw under this some objects. But I'm going to place it so that, you know, a place where I like it. I would have probably done this before I did the whole pattern. But in this case, we'll just go for it here. Because there is, when I'm working on these, there's stuff laying around. That's why, you know, this one ended up with this little guy in the middle. Because it was like this hunk of plastic, this little toy, you know, that was laying nearby.
It's each one.
We go from 2 feet one time we do this to West End manhole cover early.
It's a really cool.
Television is a good
That's
one
right.
here.
Yeah.
We got that. I like to use organic, like twigs. Like different branches. Like, it's just infinite, you know, it's just all out there. And I might sneak some of this in the bottom.
There's a new one for you.
So, you know, just start playing. You know, and I'll start adding different things. I have control. I can turn it back if I don't like that I want something there, but I don't want it dominating. I can turn it back. I have complete control. And, you know, if I want to add more, like in this case, I would add some more kind of circle kind of things to repeat the pattern. But
I just like the way that grate came out.
gives you an idea. This is what I do.
Nice.
And it's just been a lot of fun for me.
I'm inspired because there's some woods by my house and I saw a big manhole cover in the middle of the woods.
Oh.
And I took a picture of it and I'm like, I should do something with that someday.
There you go.
Very cool.
For, you know, like the organic part, all I do
Yeah.
Run on there. Yeah, manhole cover.
is I'll add, I'll pick, you know, like something. It can be nondescript, doesn't have to be exact. Jean at the art center, you know, she's a botanical illustrator. You know, she looks at what I do and she goes, well, it really doesn't do that. You know, I know. That's not important. So, you know, I might add just a little bit of eye candy. But it helps to bring it alive. It helps to make it, you know, maybe even out in some of the cracks, you know, I might add a little bit of relief. Take that. The nice thing.
When you were riding, who knew when you were riding your bike and they used to upset you that oh, this would be what you would end up doing? Isn't that something?
Like, I actually, you know, I try to get away from it,
Yeah.
but it just keeps coming back to me. Look, I'm here doing this, you know, which is, but nobody else in the world's doing this. You know, there's a guy in, he's in Poland that is doing what I started out doing on paper. And he'll have on Instagram, he'll have little Instagram reels where it's him running out in front of this building where there's a manhole cover and he'll lay his paper down and do it, you know, and then he'll hold it up. You know, I'm like, yeah. Been there, done that. But then there's a woman in France that actually will ink a manhole cover up, you know, and she'll lay a t-shirt on it.
Oh.
The problem with that is the lift is backwards.
Yeah.
So, you know, so if it says something interesting, then it's backwards. So, but still, it's a good idea. This isn't like a finished piece, but you know, it gives you the idea of what or where I'll go. I may actually finish this, so.
You should.
But the different, I just love this. I would probably go in and define these more as bricks or tile, you know, by adding some depth to them.
But the colors only kind of reminded me under the sea with the blue and the green.
Well, in my mind, it's more like a moonlit evening, you know.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah,
I would add blues into the actual piece, you know, to tie it all together. This I would play back. So it fills in a little more. And, you know, in the finished, I would also highlight, you know, I'd go in and I would highlight the edges. And I try to be loose, you know, I try not to be real tight with it. So, you know, just start playing. You know, and I'll start adding different things. I have control. I can tone it back if I don't like that I want something there, but I don't want it dominating. I can tone it back. I have complete control. And, you know, if I want to add more, like in this case, I would add some more kind of circle kind of things to repeat the pattern. But
I just like the way that grape came out.
gives you an idea. This is what I do.
Nice.
And it's just been a lot of fun for me.
I'm inspired because there's some woods by my house and I saw a big manhole cover in the middle of the woods. And I took a picture of it and I'm like, I should do something with that someday.
There you go. For, you know, like the organic part, all I do
Yeah, manhole cover.
is I'll add, I'll pick, you know, like something. It can be nondescript, doesn't have to be exact. Jean at the Art Center, you know, she's a botanical illustrator. You know, she looks at what I do and she goes, well, it really doesn't do that. You know? I know. That's not important. So, you know, I might add just a little bit of eye candy. But it helps to bring it alive. It helps to make it, you know, maybe even out in some of the cracks, you know, I might add a little bit of relief. Take that. The nice thing.
When you were riding, who knew when you were riding your bike and they used to upset you that this would be what you would end up doing? Isn't that something?
Like, I actually, you know, I try to get away from it,
Yeah.
but it just keeps coming back to me. Look, I'm here doing this, you know, which is, but nobody else in the world's doing this. You know, there's a guy in, he's in Poland that is doing what I started out doing on paper. And he'll have on Instagram, he'll have little Instagram reels where it's him running out in front of this building where there's a manhole cover and he'll lay his paper down and do it, you know, and then he'll hold it up. You know, I'm like, yeah. Been there, done that. But then there's a woman in France that actually will ink a manhole cover up, you know, and she'll lay a t-shirt on it.
Oh.
The problem with that is the lift is backwards.
Yeah.
So, you know, so if it says something interesting, then it's backwards. So, but still, it's a good idea. This isn't like a finished piece, but you know, it gives you the idea of what or where I'll go. I may actually finish this. So.
You should.
But the different, I just love this. I would probably go in and define these more as bricks or tile, you know, by adding some depth to them.
But the colors only kind of reminded me under the sea With the blue and the green.
Well, I'm in my mind, it's more like a moonlit evening, you know.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah,
I would add blues into the actual piece, you know, to tie it all
yeah.
together. This I would play back.
Mhm.
So it fills in a little more. And, you know, in the finished, I would also highlight, you know, I'd go in and I would highlight the edges.
Mhm.
And I try to be loose, you know, I try not to be real tight with it. Because that's not my objective. It's just to play with it, have fun, and, you know, some highlights. And I've had people, I had a show in Bloomfield, and I had a tent, you know, and all this, and people would come in, they'd see it, and they'd go up, they'd touch it, you know, because it looked like a real manhole cover, you know, hanging on the wall. And, no, it's just a canvas, you know, it's not that. So anyway, my daughter, Molly Pritchett, she's my kick in the butt. She's the one that keeps me going, along with Bonnie, keeping me moving on this stuff. She put together, she's a photographer / website business. So she made me a website, you know, and that's where I started to display them and put them up. Now she has me, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, and then, you know, I have, she's on me to keep posting, making reels and what. Now she wants me to do this. She wants me to personally introduce myself to the world, you know, and I'm having a hard time doing that, you know. But when she was here in August, she took me into town and had me, you know, we made some video that I'm supposed to add music to and make reels. So I'm working on that one.
Where does she live?
Florence, Italy.
Oh, you better go visit her and do some manholes.
She did a lift before she came. She did one on the Ponte Vecchio bridge, and she did a lift for me, brought it home, and I have it on my.
Yeah, it's in.
Oh, it's in there. Yeah, it's in there. So it's kind of a combined. You know, I can't sell it because my daughter started this thing. I can't, you know. But then I just took it to more of a finish. Now she did the lighting backwards from how I would do it.
That one?
Yeah, that's it. You can pass that one around. This is a lift off of the Ponte
Oh, yeah.
Bridge in Florence, Italy.
Nice.
And how cool is that? So we have this one hanging in our hallway. But I do, that was my intention, was to be able to go places, you know, and find them and do them. But then COVID hit, you know, and things just didn't work out along that line. So not only does she want me to be a presence, she wants me to merchandise this, which, you know, is crazy. This T-shirt was the first thing.
That's cool.
You know, it is on my Etsy shop, and also I have, you know, some of these covers. You know, it's that one, but you can get this at any size up to like a 30. This isn't a sales pitch at all. I want you as artists to see this progression. You know, this is another one I did. This is called Love for Sale. This is off of Boulevard of the Outlaws in downtown. And it was in front of a really old building. There was a barn, or a bar, it was a tavern. And it has a history to it. Let's say, the barge workers and what, you know, it has a history. So that's kind of what inspired me to do it. I put a little heart up in the corner here, you know, to kind of kick that off.
That has a good background to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's just I think I used a screen, I did. I didn't like what was there, so I had a piece of screen in the basement. And I was able to create some of this texture, the screen, and then I wanted it to feel like it was raining, but with a lot of red kicking in, so then I put the splashes in. This one is gone, but there's similar ones to it in that area. So it's not completely gone. It's another print. It's hard to find them with Pittsburgh with the H. So I found this one actually in our neighborhood. But it's in the middle of the street, and I had to have Bonnie stand there and direct traffic for me. The cool thing is when I'm doing them, and they can run over with the car, it's just more texture the better to me. So I'm like waving to them, just run over it. But this is a fun one. So she has me doing that. Then this year, she said, "Dad, you gotta kick it up a little bit." So on Printify, they now offer shoes. Crazy. This is 2023, and I'm coming from back 1972, and it's just crazy what's available now to artists, really. These are my prototypes. This is the Sister Bridge.
That's really neat.
Low tops. I now put up, I have high tops.
That's really neat. And then what they print on
I have
demand?
about 4 other different patterns. One is I believe one's the actual Pittsburgh. And I'm able to actually incorporate the name or whatever I think on the tongue here I have Bella, Isabella, because this one's right next to Isabella Street on the north side, and how they carved into the stone on the street corners, so I was able to do that lift. Isabella.
That's really neat.
And, but this is a big one. This one hangs in our dining room. It's big. So this is a new adventure. So when she was here, she had me take these into town, and we did a lot of, standing next to manhole covers with these shoes on. We had my son-in-law. He has tattoos on his legs. A little more current, So she had him model. So we have videos up of Gino with his tattooed legs and the tennis shoes. So, now my youngest daughter, she just ordered a pair of the high tops, which will market, show off the model.
Who knew?
The whole family should have them on.
Yeah. So
really neat.
So
Wow.
I'm playing around now with T-shirts because of all the interest around the world. My son-in-law was just the son-in-law's in Pittsburgh here, Gino. He was just in Tokyo with some friends, and he took a picture for me of this manhole cover, on the street. Who knew? It was iconic. It's once I posted it, I got all these people saying, "Oh yeah, I got that. I made coasters, with that, and it's just popular, Who knew?" So since he took the photograph, and since it has to be, it looks like it's well worn and easily very old. So I feel like I can do something with it, So I'm going to take a little artistic license and playing around where to position them on T-shirts, and stuff. So that's coming up. So that's me.
Very nice.